Welcome to Fundamentals of APA Part 1. To make the content in this video more accessible, click Closed Caption or adjust the playback speed. In this video, you will learn about APA citations, when to use them, and how to format them according to the latest edition. But what is a citation? Citations are a notation within or at the end of the sentence to signal to the reader that a portion of the sentence contains material from another source. It also directs the reader to the corresponding reference. There are three main types of citation styles: MLA, APA, and Chicago style. In this video, we are using APA style 7th edition. APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and APA style is how you format your writing to ensure you are acknowledging how others contributed to your work. APA style is necessary for effective scholarly communication because it helps the writer present their ideas in a clear, precise, and inclusive manner. There are two ways to use citations. The first is in the body of your text or writing. There are a few ways to do this, and we will talk more about that in a moment. The second way is to cite the resources you used in the list of your references at the end of your paper. In other writing styles, that may be called works cited or bibliography. Now that we have discussed what citations and references are, let's talk about when to use them. Citations should always be used when incorporating specific information, such as statistics, dates, or facts, or when the information being used is not completely your unique opinion, experience, or knowledge. This also applies to paraphrasing and summarizing, because the original thought is not your own. Lastly, citations should always be used with a direct quote because you are sharing the author's words exactly, which should also be inside quotation marks. So, how do I use citations? There are a few ways you can format citations. They are called parenthetical, narrative, and direct. A parenthetical citation means you're using your own words to describe an idea, and you list the author and year at the end. Notice the author's last name and the date of publication are in parentheses. This citation is in a yellow font on the screen. Narrative citation is very similar to a parenthetical citation because you are still using your own words to describe something that someone wrote, but you are incorporating the author into the sentence. So, for a narrative citation, we would say, Dweck, 2016, maintains that focusing on doing one's best will result in success. You should note the author's last name is not in parentheses. See the narrative citation in the yellow font on the screen. A direct quote is word for word what an author wrote and should always include quotation marks. It is important to remember that you need to provide the page number, paragraph number, or timestamp when using a direct quote. See the different ways to cite this source in the yellow font on the screen. But what if there are two authors? When you have an article or book with two authors, you need to list the authors in the same order as they are listed in the work you are referencing. So, in this case, we have Lynn and Muenks. Lynn was listed before Muenks. Now, I want you to pay close attention to the in-text citations. The parenthetical citation uses an ampersand, and the narrative citation does not. This is because a narrative citation is part of the sentence, whereas the parenthetical citation typically appears at the end of a sentence. See the examples in yellow font on the screen. And as you can see from the direct quote citation, it uses an ampersand. Often, you will come across scholarly works with 3 or more authors. Similar to the previous example, they should be listed in the order they appear in the scholarly work you are referencing. For this example, Zainuddin is the primary author, and that is why they are listed first. For the in-text citation, you would not list out all 4 names. You would list the primary author, in this case, Zainuddin, followed by et al., which means and others. We have now gone over the different types of in-text citations, so take a minute to look at these 2 paragraphs. You can see how the in-text citations should look in your work. Can you identify what types of in-text citations are being used? If you said every type we have gone over, you would be correct. We show parenthetical, narrative, and direct quotes in these 2 paragraphs. There are a couple of things to point out on the screen. First, the font is Times New Roman, the size 12 point, so see the yellow box surrounding the font on the screen. Next, the sentences are double-spaced. Notice the yellow arrows on the screen. Additionally, the first word of each paragraph is indented. See the yellow arrow on the screen. All of these elements are standards for scholarly work, according to the APA guidelines. Now that we have talked a bit about in-text citations, let's talk about references. A reference is the detailed information of a source listed at the end of a scholarly paper and is in alphabetical order by primary author. The references list corresponds to the in-text citations in the body of the paper. There is a specific way that references are formatted, and in Part 2, we will go over the different formats for the types of references you will use in your academic journey. But for now, we will go over the basics. In the example on the screen, notice that lines 2, 3, and 4 have a hanging indent. This is to indicate to your reader that lines 2 through 4 belong with line 1. See the yellow arrow pointing to the hanging indentation. Here is an example of a references page. Each line is double-spaced in Times New Roman font size 12 with a hanging indent. The word references is aligned in the center and in bold. See the example on the screen inside of the yellow box. Here we have all the examples that have been used in this video, and you can see here why a hanging indent is so important. Lastly, we are going to talk about how to format an annotated bibliography. An annotated bibliography is a list of sources, like books, articles, or websites, you plan to use for a research project, with a short summary and evaluation of each source. It's like a references list, but with notes about each source. Let's take a look at an example. The title of the paper is centered and in bold, followed by a colon, and the words Annotated Bibliography. See the title outlined in yellow on the screen. Below the reference portion are the annotations or notes pertaining to the paper you are writing. Note that an annotated bibliography is formatted just like a references page. The first line is left justified, and lines 2, 3, and 4 have a hanging indent. See the yellow arrows pointing to the example on the screen. There is no limit to the number of lines in your annotations for a source. This is just an example. Creating an annotated bibliography helps you think critically about your sources. Annotated entries should evaluate the credibility of the source and provide an explanation of the source's credibility for your research. So, in this video, we learned about APA-style fundamentals for using citations and references. We also learned about when to use them and how to format them. One important note to always remember is that you will need at least one in-text citation for every reference you list, and vice versa. If you mention the author of a work, you must have the complete formatted reference in your resource list. Did you like this video? You can also find many other videos and resources from the Academic Support Center in the self-serve database called the ARC, or Academic Resource Center. Be sure to check out Part 2 of the Fundamentals of APA, which will include a deep dive into formatting various types of sources and the title page. Thanks for watching.